The level of thinking of the sages is very, very shallow, and I demonstrate this in my videos and in my book, Healthy Sages, where I brought 273 absurd and ridiculous topics. Not only regarding the mistake, but in two important matters. One, the topics that interest the sages, such as whether someone can urinate from the roof of a synagogue, whether he is allowed to hold his sexual organ, or forbidden to hold his sexual organ. What is the size of the stone permitted to wipe the anus on Shabbat, like dough, like a walnut? All sorts of truly trivial topics for serious people. The second thing is that their questions and answers, their arguments, are not substantiated. It's at the level of a third-grade elementary school child, claims, but no foundation. Say, support your claim either with a fact or with some logical explanation. Nothing. They're just babbling. And now I'll bring you something from Tractate Baba Metsia, a discussion where they write about a topic that's really not important, to show just how absurd it is to even think for a moment about exempting people from army service because of this kind of study, this shallow study. Now, also understand something else. This is the reason why the Rambam explains that he wrote the Mishneh Torah, the entire book that summarizes all the laws derived from the Talmud, so that people wouldn't get caught up in the Talmud. They would engage with the Torah and immediately come to the Mishneh Torah. That's why he called it Mishneh Torah, meaning second to the Torah. In other words, there's no need to study the Talmud. Why? Because he believes that someone who studies the Talmud, after all the complexities, is confused, lacking the four contradictions of the Sugya from Tractate Baba Metsia, page 4, side A. Because, for example, when the highly respected Rabbi Yishmael, son of the esteemed Rabbi Yossi, and the equally revered Rabbi Elazar, son of the wise Rabbi Shimon, would meet, and they would place their substantial belly against the other's substantial belly, specifically Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbi Yishmael, son of Rabbi Yossi. So when they would press their very large belly to their very large belly, because they were both incredibly fat, then they could lift up oxen. Oxen could pass underneath the place where their bellies met. Since their bellies were so huge, and apparently they were also a bit tall as well, so they were so fat to the extent that even a pair of oxen could pass underneath them, and even do so without touching them. So just see how fat they were. What is this all about? Why are you babbling about these things? So let's see what happens next. And then a certain famous and respected foreign woman came along. They called her Matronita. She said to him, "Is this Matronita?" Wait, so she saw that they were very, very fat. And then she said to them, "Listen, if you're that fat, you can't get your wife pregnant. It's impossible. This fat belly won't let you insert a brush into a tube. So your children aren't really yours? Yours? Meaning they actually belong to another man?" And then they said to her, No, we actually do manage. And even more than that, with our wives, their bellies are even bigger than ours. Meaning, if we can pass a pair of oxen underneath us without touching our bodies, then with the women, their bellies are even bigger. So the matron said to them, "If that's the case, if it's even bigger, then you can't possibly get your wives pregnant with such big bellies, yours and your wives." So they answered her like this. There are two versions of what they replied to her. Now look, the Talmud always has different versions, because these stories, or more accurately, these fanciful tales, were passed down from generation to generation before they were written down, which could have taken even hundreds of years. So, some say that they replied to this matron like this: "For as a man, so is his strength," meaning the bigger the person, the bigger his sexual organ. And also his sexual organ is larger. That's why we were able to insert the mackerel into our wives' tubes. That's one version. There's another version, an earlier one. Others said to her, this is what they told her: "Love pushes aside the flesh. When a person has desire, nothing will stand between him and fulfilling that desire. And that's actually a rather nice expression. Love pushes aside the flesh. That's the story with Rabbi Yishmael, son of Rabbi Yossi, and Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon. And then the Talmud asks, why are they even comparing her to a matronita? Why are they even addressing her? If she says something, why even respond to her? After all, it says in Proverbs, do not answer a fool according to his folly. They answer that they responded to her in this way so that people wouldn't cast aspersions on their children, saying, oh really, those aren't their children. Now let me add something related to this. Rabbi Yochanan said, the limb of Rabbi Yishmael, son of Rabbi Yossi, his organ, was like a wineskin holding 9 kav, which is enormous. Rav Papa said, the organ of Rabbi Yochanan was like a wineskin holding 5 kav, and some say 3 kav, and there are those who say only 3 kav, which is still something truly enormous. As for Rav Papa himself, he was like some huge basket. Support. Why are you saying this? To whom does this matter? So the Baalei HaTosafot, those who are here on the left side in their commentary, they say the following, these things, it bothered them. What? Why are you telling them that they were so fat, and whether or not they had children, did they have children or not? What are these stories? So the Baalei HaTosafot say, these things were written so as not to cast aspersions on people who are like this, so that if you see a married couple who are overweight, the head of the community, people won't start gossiping, those probably aren't their children. Otherwise, how do they do it? So no, look, you see, it is possible. Do you know what these guys are dealing with? Now, the Maharshal, who lived in the 16th century, Rabbi Shlomo Luria, comes and says that this is probably referring to the intensity of their desire. They came to teach, because even that doesn't bother them. What are you trying to teach us? So he says, this comes to teach you that even though they had such a big sexual past, and so they also had such a strong desire, still they were righteous and overcame their desire. That's what this story comes to teach. Now, there are those for whom neither explanation is comfortable. So look, I'm doing this on purpose. I'm coming and giving you the explanations because they understand that it's not appropriate. So there are those who say that what's written as past doesn't refer to sexual history. Ava here refers to other limbs of the body. For example, to say that the limb of his thigh or his leg is 9 handbreadths, just to say that he heard. There are those who come and say that the word aver is a term for a meal. They use it especially aver in matters of mourning. They simply change the entire context, and a person learns a word from its context, but since it's uncomfortable for them, so they find a context to make it work, and then say that the meaning is when he ate 9 measures, as if, even according to their approach, what does it matter how much they ate? Is it really, you take it so seriously that it's permitted to study it all day long, and neglect the security of the citizens of the state of Israel. There was simply nothing else. And what does that mean? This making excuses is endless. After all, every time they have strange topic, and every time they say, no, what they said, they actually meant it this way. No, what they said, they meant it like this. Now make this a rule for yourselves. If you see an animal that walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and looks like a duck, it's probably a duck if you carefully observe a text, a book, or even a profound Talmud that babbles like a very young 5-year-old child, dealing with complex issues concerning rude and impolite people, and you clearly see that they persistently ask questions and make bold claims without any proper reasoning, without presenting any verifiable facts, and without employing sound logical principles, it's highly probable that they are indeed foolish and significantly lacking in fundamental understanding, just as the esteemed Maimonides wisely states. And disgraceful, I believe that Hamas should be eliminated,